everyone. This is Joel Pate, President of Score. We appreciate you joining us today. And we have a very special guest I'll introduce in just a few minutes. The goals of our calls on Thursday is education at the very root, because our goal is for you to increase your business, to be in a position to not only increase your business, but to make a profit and increase your profits, keep those profits as well. So we've got a plethora of training videos that are available on our website. If you're already a SCORE member, you've already got access to those. But if you're not yet a SCORE member, we'll give you access, temporary access, to be able to view those training webinars, of course, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So please feel free to take advantage of that. Go to the Scoreinc.com website, to the members page, and request the credentials to be able to log into the site. We'll send them over to you. Again, we hold these calls every week. I was out of town last week, and we had a special session set up, but we had technical difficulties. So for those of you who were joining us last week, I apologize for our technical issues that caused us not to be able to do the call. And, of course, next Thursday will be Thanksgiving, so we'll skip that week and come back the following Thursday in December and get started again. So you guys enjoy your time with your family next week. Hey, Joshua, how are you?
Okay.
Good, good. I was just about to introduce Kelly, but I'll let you greet the folks.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to see a lot of you. I call them serial webinars, SCORE webinars are on there. I love that. They're following intensely along on all of these webinars. And just to say hi and remember, everybody, if you're not able to get on a webinar, we've got our SCORE webpage that are members only. Just to fill out one of those opt-ins so that if you're not a SCORE member, you can get access to the SCORE membership site. All we want to do is talk to you about your business and see what we can do with you. If not, at least guide you in the right direction on how to get onto our SCORE website and continue to follow us. We appreciate your being on that site and collaborating with us on all of this. Thank you very much.
Oh, absolutely. And at the end of the call, we'll talk more about some of the other products that we offer, in addition to a full credit repair solution for you, including software, back-end processing. We also have a Fair Debt Collection Practice Act department that is very robust. And if you're not familiar with that, you should become familiar. There's a training webinar on the FDCPA page of the SCORE website as well. So be sure to take advantage of that, because it's a great way to build your business and help your customer out as well. Well, Joshua, I want to introduce our guest today. She has been on our webinars before. She's always nervous about being on there, but she shouldn't be, because she's got a lot to say. And she's an expert in her field, been doing this for quite a number of years. We'll ask her how many. I think it's well, we'll find out in a few minutes. And been in the mortgage space before that, and just an absolute professional, as well as, of course, a very nice person. So we're happy to introduce Kelly Wells to everyone. Kelly, say hello to everybody.
Hi, how are you guys?
Well, we're doing extremely well, and I'm glad that you're not frozen to death. You're up there in, are you in Wyoming or North Dakota? Where are you?
North Dakota.
North Dakota. How cold? You said it was 7 degrees below zero this morning. Is that right?
It was. Now it's gotten much nicer. It's probably 30 degrees out right now.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, I'm from the south, and anything under about 40 degrees, we want to stay home. That's pretty cold. So, yeah,
I'm further south, and that's extremely. 30 degrees is freezing to us.
Yeah, no. Well, it's freezing to everybody, just by the way, Joshua. But anyway, it's great to have Kelly on the webinar today, and I've been consulting with Kelly now, I guess, about 6 months on a very often basis, and the reason is because Kelly wants to build her business and try new things and grow the business, and she actually takes my advice from time to time and gives me her opinion, and it's great feedback. So, Kelly, I'm glad to have you on the call, and I know that you'll be a great benefit to those who's on the call with us. This is your new brochure. Now, we had a little snafu that there's actually an updated front cover to this, but this was one of the covers that you did not select, and I didn't get the other email fast enough to change it out. But this is a good sign of some of the quality work that you're doing, and from what you've done is you've built this, and I'll show it to everybody. Just flip through. It's a 4-page document that you've built, and your intention here is to hand this out instead of business cards in a new city that you've just moved to. So, you've got a successful credit repair business back in Washington State. You're there 2 weeks out of the month, and you're in North Dakota 2 weeks out of the month. And so, it's going to be very, very interesting to watch you start without knowing anybody whatsoever and build a business in a new city that no one, no one knows you. Even worse, right? It's one thing not to know anybody, but nobody knows you. And, to watch you grow this, because I'm going to help you do it, and with your skill sets, you'll be able to do it. And, I think it's very intriguing we'll map this out and watch this process over the coming months. And, it's really the situation that's faced by many, many people, Joshua, that they decide to get in the credit repair business. They may be coming out of the mortgage space, but whether you're brand new to the business or you're wanting to grow your business, you're going to have to go to an area that nobody knows you in order to, increase the footprint that you operate it within. And so, you got to figure out the best way to go out there and meet people. And I can tell you one thing: dropping by real estate offices and handing out cards is not the way to do it.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got to be able to, we've always heard this before. We've got to be the expert. You got to be the expert. But how? How do I become the expert? Well, you've got to engage the market, and you've got to talk to the market, get yourself out there, get yourself shown, talk to people about your services. Kelly's doing a lot of things, Joe. I call it she's a one-man multimedia barrage. She's gone ahead and she's revamped the website. She's gone ahead and she's clinically and strategically looking for exact pieces of content to insert and carry one message across the board through her website. She's engaged people to do Facebook pushes over to her website. She's doing radio as well, right, Kelly?
Yes.
Yeah, she's doing radio. I mean, talk to us a little bit about what you're doing and how you're doing that.
Well, I've been just taking small steps at a time, I guess, and it's just happened over the last few years. And I got into radio. It's probably been 2 years ago, and I got in as a co-host, not as a host of the show. So I only do it like once a month, sometimes twice a month. Now that I'm over in North Dakota, I haven't started my radio, doing anything with the radio here yet. I have a meeting with the radio on Monday after Thanksgiving. So we'll see if I decide to go into it in that way in this market, or if I'm going to just continue and try to go with the brochures and do it without using the radio. I'm not really sure.
Yeah. Are you using any other media? Such as printed media?
Like what?
Like newspapers, printed ads, classified.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to get to in just a minute, Joshua, is the success that she's had with that printed media, and again, doing a lot of testing to arrive at what you won't believe the statistics that is pulling in. Of course, the goal is to keep things working, and of course, the thing about everything that's successful is you want to replicate it, duplicate it, and keep it working, but at the same time, knowing that it will adjust and come to some sort of end, and you'll have to make another adjustment. One of the things that I've been working with Kelly on, and we've talked about it on this very webinar, is placing these small ads in the real estate section of your local newspaper. And this was the first ad that you placed, Kelly, and it was and it didn't pull very well, if I remember correctly. It's back in August, and there's an aspect of the ad that you changed, or really two big aspects. So let's talk about the responses that you got there in the general home section. versus when you ran the ad in the unfurnished homes rental section.
Right. When I ran this ad here, and I just looked at the statistics, and I think it was I got 4 calls, and of those 4 calls, one of them left a voicemail, and in that one voicemail, it was somebody that I couldn't help. He needed an attorney, not somebody like me to talk to him about his credit. And then when we changed it to the rental section, I got a much better response.
Yeah, and then another thing I want to bring to your attention, instead of, see, this ad does not have the 24 hours for the recorded message, and this one does here with the call 24 hours for message. And, so one of the 2 things worked much, much better, either, and I believe it was really both, putting it in the proper section, which was the rental section, versus just a general home section. Because, you'd have to imagine that the guy looking at a rental property, he either needs a rental because he's transitioning, or he needs a rental because he knows that he can't qualify for a home. He's, being foreclosed on, he's having to move out of his house, whatever, all these circumstances that people face, the top prospect is, one of the top prospects is somebody that can't buy a house right now. And, of course, another aspect of Kelly's business is mortgage referrals. We may be able to talk about that later in the call. But, Kelly, and let's play this message because I want everybody to hear how easy this is to do. So give me just a second. I'll call the number and we'll listen to the message. Well, that's going to be a trick. Hold on just a second. I'm doing it on another phone here.
Purchase the home that you need or want because of your credit. They understand how painful that is. But the best part is I can help. Hi, I'm Kelly Wells, and I've been helping families just like you get their credit back on track and improve it to a point that they can purchase the home they need since 2000. In that time, I've assisted many families to purchase a home. Can I help you? We won't know until you call. This could be one of the most important calls you have ever made. So leave your name, phone number, and the best time to call, and I personally will return the call.
Now, Kelly, we worked on that script, that's probably the 4th or 5th iteration of that script, but, it's something that you recorded, and you've recorded multiple times, and it's, it's really at the end of the day, once you get over the hurdle of creating a script, it was pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it is very easy.
Now, let's talk about this.
The voice.
Yeah, oh yeah, well, nobody likes their voice, and I've got a particular weakness in mine due to my vocal cords were damaged, but, we all have our problems, and, you got to push through, right? So, but you use a company called Ring Central to host that voicemail recording as well as the phone number, and they give you that's a local number there in your area, is that correct?
Correct, in the Washington area.
Yeah, it seems to me like, and I'm actually doing some other testing around the country just to prove this out and make sure that it's demonstrate that it works, in multiple markets. But without a doubt, having a local number it's better than having a toll-free number. And sometimes, of course, you can't have a toll-free, you can't have a local number, but when you can, it's better. Now, Kelly, for this marketing, what are you spending on the newspaper, and what are you spending on Ring Central?
This particular newspaper ad cost me just right at $250, and it runs for 3 weeks for this ad. And then the Ring Central, I think, is $39 a month for that line.
Okay. Now, you also ran an ad for FTCPA a couple of months, and just, for the sake of full disclosure here, that didn't work. It didn't pull like this real estate ad did. So, guess what? You stopped running it, right?
Right. Now, I am running it in the Williston area just to see if it's going to pull here.
Okay.
What statistics, Kelly, could you talk to the you mentioned when it was you booked this ad in the real estate area, there was about a, did you say a 25% conversion, 1 out of 4? And one wasn't really, and that one really needed another type of service. What type of statistics do we have around this?
We're going to, Joshua, in the next slide, we're going to get to that. So let's hold up on that because I've got it all laid out for us so that we can view it. But we don't have the statistics from those original calls. But Kelly, go back over that again. When it was in the general home section, what were the statistics that you got there?
I think it only pulled 4 calls, or had 4 with 1 leaving a message, and it wasn't a good one.
Yeah, and so obviously, you know, when Kelly called me and says, well, this didn't work, I said, well, you know, it definitely didn't work with flying colors, so let's make some adjustments. And so we began to make these adjustments, put the 24-hour call message on there, which is not a direct and the absolute test, Joshua, to know if it triggered because it was in a better section or because of the message. I have to think that 70 or 80% of the net effect probably was the section of the newspaper versus that additional part of the message. So one of the things I thought was very interesting to discuss in the process of this is the timing of the time you return the phone call. So as we heard on the message, the call to action of the ad, see every step of this, and Joshua, let's talk about that for just a minute. Everything you do must have a call to action. So the ad had 1 call to action, and that was to call the number. The recording had 1 call to action, and it was to leave a message. And you know, and Joshua, I'd like your opinion on this. Is, you know, should the message include, or should the advertisement include the website as well as the phone number, or is it better to have 1 call to action?
With such a small ad, and you see this ad is going to be in the classified. So with such a small ad, when a person reaches or looks towards the ad, you don't want to give them too many options. It's better to have 1 call to action, but the important thing here, Joel, is to measure that call to action and react to it in a planned and deliberate manner.
Right.
That it's not just putting the ad in the paper, but following up and doing it consistently so that you can measure every time you run a split test from week to week, which is what Kelly has done in 3-week rotations, running it in one place, running it in another. When you do that, you want to be very careful as to how you call those actions over. You don't want to change that because they might like, the demographic might like the website rather than the number, because it's a different type of demographic. So you want to be very careful with that.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, so many people are accustomed to being able to obtain information, you know, anytime they want to. I think one of the next tests that Kelly should consider doing is running 2 ads, one with the website and one with phone number, and see if there's a distinct difference. But anyway, just an interesting point. And then, of course, you know, what is the process of following up? So the person calls, looks at the ad, decides whether they want to call or not. They call, and then they leave a message. And so let's talk about the timing of the return call, Kelly. What, you know, people leave a message. Do they call? I guess they call, you know, sometimes late at night and on the weekends.
Right. And I generally am very quick to respond when I get a message because I'm always so excited that somebody called and wanted to talk to me. Unless I tend to, on the weekends, leave it till Monday, which might not be such a good idea because if people are working. But I get good responses. I don't have to leave voicemails. They seem to be leaving me with their cell phone number, and it's a number that people answer. But I usually respond very quickly.
You know, one of the things that you may want to do is to, in the message, is to state the area code that you will be calling from, or even the phone number you'll be calling from, because so that way they'll know to expect that call back. And that may be that's a recommendation I think I would consider implementing, because so many people screen their calls these days. If they don't know who the caller is, they you know, they won't answer. So, but you're getting just the opposite of that. So as far as so the answer to this question is over the weekend you're not calling people back. It may be a good idea to try to do that. But if they call during the week, you are returning the call, as fast as possible.
Yes.
And have you noted the number of people calling over the weekend versus during the week?
I haven't specifically written them down like I did the other things, but it seems like I get more calls right after the ad goes out. Now the Olympian ad is a daily. It goes out every day. But when I put them in like the Shopper or the Little Nickel and it only goes on a Thursday, it seems like I get quite a few calls Thursday, Friday, and a few over the weekend.
Now, do you have enough information yet if that Thrifty or the Little Nickel, is that working yet? Or have you found that consumer is as good as the Olympian consumer?
Yeah. The Little Nickel I don't think is as good as the Olympian. Because it tends to bring me the customers that aren't ready to make a move. Now in Williston, I put it in the Shopper, which is a paper that's like the Little Nickel, but because of the area and the demographics I'm in, and everybody's living in campers and fifth wheels, not everybody has internet. And so they, when they're in the store, they grab these free papers and they call. And so I think this market I will benefit more from. However, the ad has only been running a week.
Yeah. Now let's describe why everybody's living in campers and fifth wheels. It's because this is then the oil rush up there in North Dakota that you hear on the news, and the fracking of the shell. And so, I mean, there's just thousands of people there looking for jobs, and now they're building houses, and it's just a boom town. So that's the reason everybody's living in campers so far.
Right.
And so it'll be very interesting as you tap into that marketplace. Are there people moving there permanently, and what will be the demographics of that? So I think it's going to be a real good test of your skills as well as the actual demographics. There was a lady that I consulted with about 2 weeks ago, and I actually recommended that she move because she'd done everything right that could be done, and her market, the demographics just weren't right. And I said, well, is there a market within 30 minutes of you? And she said, yes. I said, well, then you need to go there and ply your trade there because it's just not going to work in a marketplace that it won't work in. And Joshua, you can speak to that. I mean, if you're in a demographic that won't work, it won't work. Go somewhere else.
Yeah, could you repeat that, Joel, please? I didn't hear the last thing you cut out.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a demographic that won't work, you need to move, and you need to go ply your trade in a space, in a geographic area that is open. For example, this particular lady had moved to a retirement area in which the majority of the people that moved there paid cash for their houses, and the others worked in service industries, and she found that they couldn't afford her services. So the people that could afford her service didn't need it, and the people that did need her service couldn't afford it. But 30 minutes away there was another market that's 10 times bigger, and so she said, well, how will I go there, and how will I start? And so she had taken a lot of notes from my calls. I said, well, start by going to open houses and finding real estate agents to meet and talk with. Start by running these ads and having something to talk about.
Yeah, it's all about placement. Whether you have a retail front, whether you have an office facility, you've got to have a strategy around that. You've got to exactly know where to place your business, and on purpose place it where it's most effective. When I was in the credit repair space, we had a strategy where we basically opened up shops right next to or either large cell phone commercial offices for AT&T, T-Mobile, and a company called Centennial, or we would open up next to banks and dealerships. Those, we literally have customers, Joel, at one of our facilities walk out of a local bank or of a cooperative type bank and get their credit denied and walk out the door and in through our door and have their credit looked at immediately, minutes right after the denial. And that's because we're placed there. But there was a market. We understood the market. We understood the demographic. It's very important that you understand, like what Kelly's doing now in her area. There's a rush there. She's going to catch an upswing of consumers probably needing her services, and that she's strategically placed. So that's also important. That's going to bundle along with everything else that you do, including the way you promote yourself or place ads either on radio or in printed media.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So getting back to the presentation here, but I thought it would be good to talk about why everybody's living in campers there, not to confuse anybody. But, the timing of their call, Kelly, does it seem to matter if you call them back right away or if the call is 24 hours old? Does that seem to matter?
No, I don't. I mean, I think they're extremely excited when I call them back within an hour. But, when I've waited, did I just hang up?
No, I'm here.
Well, you're here.
Okay, it sounded like it hung up. But when I've waited 24 hours, like I talked to a lady on Monday that had called over the weekend. She was just so happy to hear from me, so glad that I had returned the call. So it was almost like they didn't expect to actually get a call back.
Yeah, and they shouldn't have because, if you call most credit repair companies and you leave a message, they don't call you back. If you place an ad and they don't call you back. If you go to their website and fill in their info form, they don't call you back. And as I told Jay Peters back in 07 or 08, when I got in this space, I said this is the group of people that don't want to talk to their customers more than any group of people I've ever seen in my life, Joshua. I mean, you got a website, don't have a phone number on it, you don't have an email on it, you don't respond to the contact form, and you wonder why you don't have any business, or more business. And and it's all this is key and paramount. So you'll shock a person even by just calling them back. So I think, without a doubt, the faster you can call them back, the better.
Yeah, no, that's it's not just something that there are a lot of statistics around in marketing and responding to customer questions either on the web, on a call. The longer it takes you to call back, the lower your probability to close. And that fluctuates from market to market, and you have to look for the different market scenarios to understand that there's one common trait. The longer it takes, the longer it's going to take to close. And there's one fundamental premise, is that if you never call back, you don't get a sale. And that's one of the biggest problems. People are, like Kelly says, people are grateful because most of the time when you leave a message, a lot of the times you don't get a call back. And just returning the call puts you into a different bracket. Now, if you do that strategically and on purpose and place a parameter or some type of process in place where you're taking the call, it's being forwarded to your cell phone and you respond within, let's say, 5 minutes, and that's the plan, and you measure that, you're probably going to have consistent responses and better closing on probability to close. The other thing, Joel, is something I want to add to this, is that always return the call, even if you talk to all of them, with an email. Always send an email acknowledging that you've returned the call. I mean, that's just something I've done for a long time. I've seen that on the web, different people saying always return a call with an email in addition to the call. And I can understand that. It's just a multiple way to touch the customer and to reinforce what you probably discussed on the call.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That's very good. Yeah, whether you and I think your point is whether you speak to the person or not, have a multiple touch follow-up process. I was speaking to our marketing person this morning about ways to increase our response rate, and he says, well, if you go back to the old days, before email, they'd say, you need to run radio, TV, and print, or billboards. You need to touch them 3 different ways in 3 different medias. And I think now we rely so much on email that we overuse it. And, in Kelly's market, and I know there's people in Kelly's market doing it for $99 a month as well, but in Kelly's market with her price range, which we will get to, a handwritten note or a letter with your letterhead signed always in blue or black by you is actually signed would go a long way as well, because this is a $1,000 sale. This is a substantive sale, so you can afford a letterhead with a signature on it as well as an email too. So there's multiple ways to touch that person. I always, and I believe in collateral material. I really like Kelly's piece that we showed at the beginning of the webinar, and that's another good piece as well to send out and have it ready to go in an envelope, and you just stuff a letter in there, put a label on the flat envelope, and send it out. And another great way to talk to your customers. Let me throw one more point out there while we're discussing this. I was in an office in Houston, Texas this past week, and they've got a real nice collateral piece that they're sending out, but they're doing it they're taking it to the next step, and they've got, in Houston, of course, it's a big city, but very condensed, a lot of people, and they have what they call hotshot companies that will, at the drop of the hat, will come by your office, pick up something, and take it across town. And so for substantive calls, especially with builders, mortgage companies, and realtors, while they're on the phone, they call the hotshots company. And I'm not sure how fast this happens, but their goal is for while they're on the phone with the builder, their goal is for the hotshot guy to show up, or within an hour, delivering the package that they were just talking about. And he said their closing ratio among builders has skyrocketed as a result of that extra step. Now, that's a $30, $40, $50 step, but how much is a builder worth?
Yeah.
And so anyway, lots of ways to go about the market and improve the results. So let's talk about the results of this one advertisement in October, which of course was a full month compared to, we've got month-to-date statistics for November. But so you ran one ad. It basically cost you $300 for the month. You got 28 people to call and listen to the message. Now, I recommended to Kelly that she not call back to people that didn't leave a message. And the reason is because they weren't interested enough to leave a message, so why waste your time to call them back? Now, I could be wrong, but, so maybe we test that and call those other people and see what, maybe pick up one or two more people that way. So 9 people left a message for them to call back. Now, you won't believe these statistics here, but 6 people got an appointment and 6 people closed. And the same statistics hold true for November. And the reason is because the offer is so good, Kelly's so good at selling it, she's very believable, and as is most people on the call as well. So I think that you could see the statistics going through this process as well. It's better than talking to all 28 people. You'd be better off talking to the 9 than you are the 28. Now, I've got another company that's actually testing this where they've got a call center, and they're actually answering the phones on about 18 hours a day. So their goal is, because it is better to answer the phone, but we'll see if that works for them. But coming back to Kelly's statistics, Kelly, so let's go through the next statistics, and then we'll talk about each one. So far this month, you've gotten 17 calls, 3 call requests, 2 appointments, and 2 closed deals. So, in Kelly's market, she charges she charges on a pay-for-the-lead basis. So let's talk about the average value of these prospects or these closed deals, Kelly.
Most people I make about $1,500 off of. I charge an initial consultation fee once they've decided to hire me of $200 or $250 if it's a married couple. And then most people end up paying me about $1,500 on top of that. Now, there are the few that only have 1 or 2 items that need deleted that don't cost that much, but generally I figure $1,500 per client.
Yeah. And so, the question would be, how many times would you exchange $300 for, $10,000? And the answer would be everybody on the call would do it as often as they could. So, the answer is do you run more ads in one market, or do you go and test other markets? And right now, the goal is to go test other markets. So let's talk about this appointment, this process that you go through with these 3 people. Now, so are you calling these people that leave their message back, or have you delegated that?
No, I call them myself. And I go through, in the initial call, I want to go through kind of like my non-negotiables and to make sure what we've talked about in the past, make sure they're going to fit into the program. asking them what their goals are, what is their credit like, are they currently behind on things. You know, it's a probably a 10-minute consultation that I talk to them, and then from there I need to get their credit report, and then I make an appointment from that.
Now, most of these people, and we were talking about this before the call today, are not in a position to have a 1-hour consultation at that time. So you're having to set that appointment anyway. So you know, most people are not prepared when you call them back, so they want to set the appointment.
Right.
Yeah. So Kelly, just to be clear, so these people are actually meeting you at your facility or somewhere, and you're giving them their consultation at some point.
Actually, I probably only met with, of those 6 clients that signed up in October, I probably met face-to-face with half of them.
Wow.
I'm trying to do more over the phone because of splitting my time and trying to start a company in Williston. I'm trying to get used to doing more stuff over the phone than having people actually in the office.
Good, good. That's wonderful. Let me tell you, congratulations, because over the phone, those are great statistics, even for half of them. Those are outstanding numbers.
Yeah, so Kelly, let's go through, you know, let's role play for a minute, and let's go through that 10-minute call, and because I think that's a real detail here that we don't need to gloss over. And even if we don't get through with a presentation, we can come back in another week and finish this. But let's drill down in as many details as possible. So just pretend that I'm a person that left you a message, and you call me up, and let's give us the presentation.
Okay.
And I'll act like the customer
hi.
with bad credit.
Okay. I just start out with, hi, I'm Kelly Wells, the owner of Credit Restoration of Washington, and you had left a message, so I was returning the call. I would like to find out from you what it is that you're looking at doing so that I can know a little bit better about what I can do to help you.
Well, Kelly, I'm looking to buy a house in a few months, and actually I got turned down for credit when I approached a mortgage company, and they tried to pre-qualify me. But and I've got some things on my credit that are keeping me from being able to get qualified.
And do you know what those things are, and specifically that the loan officer was referring to?
Well, I really don't. There was some late payments, and I think there was a collection. Then I'm not sure because I just don't know that much about it.
Okay. So did the loan officer, did they pull your credit when you talked to them, or was it just strictly a conversation?
They pulled my credit.
Okay. And did they give you a copy of that credit report?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if there's any way that you feel comfortable, I would like to see a copy of that credit report, because I can definitely give you more information by actually seeing what's on the credit report. But for the time that we have right now, what I'd like to know is, on your late payments, are you currently late on what's on your credit report, or were those late payments from different times?
Yeah, this was all a few years ago.
Okay, well that's good, because there are a lot of things that affect your score, and late payments affect your score tremendously. So the farther away you get from that late payment, the less it's hurting you. But like I said, until I see your credit report, I really can't give you a lot of information. I do like to find out from people when I'm talking to them if they're currently past due. Do they have collections? You mentioned a collection. Is it a paid collection, or is it a collection that is still owing?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. And well, that's something that I can find out by looking at the credit report. But, if it is a collection that you owe money on, I take a look at that, and I want to see how old is the collection. Is it more than 2 years old, or is it a collection that is a newer collection that's really affecting your credit? Either way, if it's owing, if you owe money on it, we want to get that paid, because until we get that collection paid, your credit score is going to continue to suffer from that collection being on there. So that's something that we can talk about once I take a look at that credit report. Do you have a problem with sending it over to me?
Well, I'd like to know more about you and what the service might be before I do that. Of course, because I hear about this identity theft and things like that. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I've been in business for a number of years. I've done credit for over 6 years now, and before I did credit, I was a loan officer for 9 years. So I've got a lot of experience behind me. I've got a lot of experience with reading credit reports. And so what I do for my business, or what my services are, is I go through your credit report. We look at each individual thing on your credit report, see if what are the inaccuracies, what's on there that we can work on and fix, or what do we need to do to make your credit get better. Do you need a little bit more credit? Is it a case that you don't have enough positive things working for you so that you can build credit? Or maybe it's a case of just getting rid of that collection and paying down some of your credit cards. But until I can actually see the credit report, I can't give you those specifics. And how my services work is, once you decide you're going to hire me, I have an initial audit fee of $199. Then you don't pay me anything again until we start getting things removed from your credit report or corrected. You have to see some benefit from my services before I'm going to send you another invoice. So that's pretty much, in a quick nutshell, what I do.
Okay, so without continuing the role play much further, what other questions are you consistently asked? How much do they ask you? How much it costs? What other top key points do you have to cover usually?
How much does it cost? How do they have to pay me? Do they have to pay me? How much is expected from them right away? How long is it going to take? That's a big deal. Can you do this in 30 days? Which is obviously the answer is no, but it's generally going to take longer. It's going to take, I usually tell people to plan on 4 to 5 months minimum, sometimes a little bit longer. But that's pretty much all of the questions.
I know that you use, you've begun, we had a webinar back, I'm not sure, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and we were talking about Trans2Pay and the value of using a service, of that service, and the cost of not using it. And we used, I've asked several people to go back and look at their actual, the collections, and you had identified that people had not paid you $57,000 over, I think it was the last 2 years of being in business. Correct. And so you decided that you no longer could afford not to require people to fund a Trans2Pay account, because I mean, heck, you've gotten all the education you need. You don't need to do anything else for free. And so if somebody won't agree to fund this Trans2Pay account, I mean, what is your answer to them these days?
That's one of my non-negotiables. So because when I'm doing the consultation with them, I let them know, as I go into the conversation, that I need them to sign up with Identity IQ because I need a credit monitoring service, because I need to be able to track them quickly, and it helps the girls in my office be able to take care of what needs to be done every 30 days. Then I also tell them, at the same time, in order for me to stay compliant, I need you to set up an account with a company I work with called Trans2Pay, and basically what it is it's a bank account that's in their name, and they fund this account. And then when I get the deletions off and am able to send an invoice, I send it to this bank account, and I get paid from that. That way I'm guaranteed that I'm going to get paid, but I'm staying compliant at the same time.
Okay.
And that seems to be that's really strong with people. That's not the right word, but pulls a lot of weight when I talk about trying to stay compliant and not to do anything that would get me in trouble.
So, back when you decided to do this, you were vacillating around it, and basically nobody signed up for Trans2Pay because you were vacillating. But now that you made it a non-negotiable because you're tired of not getting paid, what percentage of these people are signing up for Trans2Pay now?
The only people that I allow not to sign up for Trans2Pay are the people that I put in the system that it's going to take one letter to do. I think last month I had 2 or 3 people that I knew what they had on their credit report was a collection that needed to be removed from the credit report. It was a collection agency that I work with all the time in my area. just happened to be 3 different people had the same thing as parking tickets, and everybody seems to have them. But I knew that I was going to be able to do that in 1 round of letters. I allowed them not to pay me, not to sign up with TransPay, because it was more of an effort for them to do that than to just let them give me a credit card number.
And did they all pay you?
Yes.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah. And those happen to be people that...
What percentage of the ones that you signed up for TransPay are not paying you? Has that increased?
I've never had somebody not pay. Yeah,
Exactly.
Everybody pays me.
It would be great if, if everybody used that, we'd probably decrease our accounts receivable to as low as it can get, much less than what we're doing right now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Now, what are you requiring? What is the minimum funding? So let's go through that conversation. Let's have that conversation. So we reach that point where you tell me that, and so, well, how much do you charge? And you say, well, it's going to be, $300 or whatever it is for each deleted item, and then you tell me about the TransPay pitch.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send over to you, or I'm going to have one of the girls in my office send over to you a contract that is for, it's called TransPay, and I'm also going to send it that same time. Are you still there?
Yes.
Yes.
I keep feeling like it hangs up. It clicks on me. Sorry. So, and I'm going to send over this. We're going to send over this contract for a power of attorney and the TransPay. It's going to come in 2 separate emails. And when you get that, you're going to do it through an e-signature online. When you fill out the TransPay, what I need you to do is my initial fee is $199, so we have to at least fund the account with $199. Then from that point, at this point, I've already made a spreadsheet, or had Jasmine in my office make a spreadsheet that tells me exactly how much they have out in collections and the things we're working on. So I kind of know what the deletion, what it's going to cost for my program. So then I vacillate on this a little bit, and I need to get better. So then what I do is I ask them to put, what I'm going to need you to do is, each paycheck I need a minimum of $100 to be funded into this TransPay account. That way, when at the end of the first 35 days and I send an invoice out, there's going to be at least $200 in that account for me to take as my invoice. Now, if it's a customer that has a lot more, I've had customers fund their account with $2,000. I have customers fund it with $1,000. And I like it when the customers fund it with that much money, because then when you have the invoice, the customer that put $2,000 in, his first invoice was $1,500, and I could pull the money immediately. It was great instead of having $100 payments. But so then it doesn't seem to be a problem. Most people have that $100 per paycheck to start funding it, and I tell them, now this is a budgeted amount, and I'm doing this so that we can get going on your credit and get things fixed, because if you're not able to do the $100 a paycheck, it's going to take us a lot longer. It's going to take you a lot longer to get through the process of getting your credit fixed and getting you on track, because I need to be able to know that I'm going to get paid.
Now, let's ask about this. So you've got these people that you're requiring to sign up for TransPay. You've got, and by the time that you tell them about TransPay and you tell them what your minimums are, but again, there's a 3-step process here that we've almost glossed over. One is the initial 10-minute call that you have that we've just role-played, and then it's the process of getting the credit report, which you and I talked about today, and I recommend that you spend another 5 minutes on the phone with the customer and go ahead and as a proxy access the Identity IQ through the myiqreport.com, so that you can, because you're wasting hours, if not days, waiting for them to go do that. So while they're on that 10-minute call, make it a 15-minute call and proxy pull the credit report for them. And then you send it over to Jasmine, who works for you, and she she takes that credit report and identifies the negative items, and I hope you can see this. I'm not sure if it's large enough, but basically breaks down all the creditors, the account numbers, the open dates, the amounts, whether it's in TransUnion, Experian, or Equifax. And from this, you create what is effectively a good faith estimate that then when all this is prepared, you call back the customer and have about a 1-hour consultation with the customer.
Correct.
Okay. So so again, it's possible, and not even possible, but you should be doing this, is to try to one call close that credit report to save that additional time. Now, are you, so then you go to the, so then do they sign your contract then and then you do the credit consultation, or do you do the credit consultation and then they sign your contract?
I do the credit, I get the answer for them that they're going to hire me. I do the 1-hour consultation, then I send over the contract and everything once I've done the hour consultation.
Okay. So if they decide not to hire you, you don't get paid.
Right.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I mean, that's that's kind of the way it is. So, and I'd like to get you back on another call and to really go through the key points. And I'm sure you've got a guide an outline that you use to go through and really detail out that 1-hour call. And but let's, for the sake of time here, touch on that and the important parts of that 1-hour call.
Well, the biggest parts of the 1-hour call, I mean, the most important parts are finding out what is actually theirs, what is accurate information, what's not accurate information, and I have a copy of the credit report printed in front of me, and I'm taking notes all over the place while I'm talking to them on the phone and jotting things down just so that I know what's going on. And then along with doing that, I then at the same time do my PowerPoint presentation. They may not be able to see it, but I'm going through all the basics of credit, and I'm teaching them things because I want to be able, if I'm ever asked what I do for that $199 or $250, that I can say I've been teaching them what the credit scoring model is looking for.
Yeah, Joe,
so
one of the things that I'm glad you said that, Kelly. To everybody on the call, one of the things that I'm commonly looking, and we're talking about what service offers are. It's very important that when we charge for something, we have to clearly define what we're offering, and not only that, we have to clearly, it has to be understood when it starts and when it finishes. Be very careful when offering services that continue or drive another service, because the argument can be placed, even in a pay-per-delete model, depending on how you phrase the description of your service. You've got to be very careful because you can get yourself into some trouble there. Very important, Kelly, that we all define that, because you want to, Kelly's saying that she wants to make sure that if somebody questions her as to the service she provided, it's constant and it's finite.
Yeah, and that is critical. There's from a legal standpoint, of course, you want to start a service and stop it and charge for it. So that's really good information, Joshua. The one of the things that I want to get to, and we just won't be able to get to it today, but it's certainly going to be a good part 2 here, is talking about the beyond just getting the business and doing business, the reason and the benefit behind this type of marketing. So many people ask the question, how do I introduce myself and how do I meet referral sources to be able to get business from them? And in their haste, they go out, they've got these cheap little cards they made on their own cheap little printer, and they go out there and say, hey, I'm in the credit repair business, send me your leads, and here's my card. And can I put them in all these boxes in this real estate office? Or can I stop by the mortgage company and interrupt their process? So I'm making kind of over exaggerating a little bit, but that's about how things, how it looks. And we've been teaching for a long time, and I've done this for years as a way to change the dynamic of this, and that is to use these clients as a leverage to cause referral sources to clamor to do business with you. And, that's the key, and it's really like a drug almost. And if you can go to a mortgage company, real estate office, builder, and say, I've got consumers that are going through my program, and they will want to buy a house at some point, but I'm here to interview you to determine if you're the right person that I want to do business with. And I'll assure you that will take a lot of guts to do that, but it will change the discourse of the conversations that you're having with the mortgage company, the realtor, the builder, the car dealer. And, of course, car dealers are a different breed here, so let me not include those here. But the mortgage originators and the realtors particularly, they're looking for lead sources. And realtors will not even put a person, the first question they ask when you call a realtor, if they call you back, about 85% of all real estate calls that go to a realtor are not answered. And about 50% of the time, the realtor does not return the call. Okay, so that's a stupid statistic. If I was a real estate agent, I'd just get somebody to answer my phone, and you'd probably double your business. But the first question they're going to ask is, have you been pre-qualified? And if the answer is no, they say, go get pre-qualified and then come back and see me, and basically hang up. That's just the breed of realtor. And since I've been a real estate agent since 1985, I can talk about it, Joshua. I know how they act, and I know what they do, and they have no concept of building a pipeline. They are instant. They're as bad as car dealers. If you don't qualify, get off the lot. And so there's a way for you to help that realtor build a pipeline and create a referral source, again, back from the realtor and the mortgage originator. So that's kind of one of the goals of building a pipeline of your own customers beyond getting the business. And of course, in Kelly's instance, she's succeeded thus far in closing those deals. And if I remember correctly, about 4 of those 6 in October want to buy a house. The other 2 were employment, and maybe another one was something else. But so at some point, you're going to be able to push those back down through your referral network.
Right.
Yeah, so and especially in your new area, I mean, that's the best way to leverage in a new area will be to, use this process of interviewing agents. I mean, they won't know where you came from. I talked to a guy in California the other day that is a business development. He runs the business development for a statewide lender that is putting together joint ventures with real estate agents and builders. And I asked him about credit repair. I've known him a long time. We reconnected, and he said there's a credit repair company on every corner here in California, and most real estate agents' cards have got credit repair on the back of the card. And I said, well, that could be the problem. And so, imagine walking into his office, and instead of asking for a deal, Joshua, you say, I've got a deal. I'm looking for somebody to do it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of and a lot of the people on the call today, Joe, quite frankly, have a lot of deals, but maybe when they're interviewing the customers, are not even, some of them are not asking that question. They're so eager to do the credit repair that, understanding why a customer is in your office is paramount. People, and I continuously say this, people do not buy credit repair. They buy the lack of what happens because of the lack of their credit. That's what they're really buying. As soon as they get it, they even drop out of these programs. As soon as they get the home, the loan, the car, they might have a bunch of other stuff that are probably being disputed on their credit report. I know all of you have experienced this. They'll drop off your program in a heartbeat, in the wink of an eye. They'll go, in the blink of an eye, they'll go ahead and drop out. Why? Because they've got what they needed to get. So it's very important to educate them as much as we can. And through our process, once they're a customer, you can. but we've got customers out there that are probably willing to get offers from these mortgage originators, builders, etc. As for same thing for the cars. The other thing is that not all customers are candidates for credit repair. And if you can refer customers out to a bankruptcy lawyer, you can approach him the same way, Joel.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's a real key element, that instead of going to a bankruptcy lawyer and asking them to send you deals, go to a bankruptcy lawyer and ask them how to send them business.
And trade. Maybe you want to get a couple of your, some of your customers. When you give them when you're intaking your customer, ask them if they're willing to, if they want to learn a little bit more about bankruptcy law and how it benefits consumers. A lot of people don't know that. So talk to a lawyer and say, let me talk to your customers and talk to them a little bit about credit repair and life after bankruptcy, credit after bankruptcy. Prepare a small PowerPoint around that. Okay. Now, in the same token, have them prepare the same thing and engage your customers as well. You get customers together in one place for him or that person or that, and they get customers for you, and you engage customers in groups. That's a great trade-off because they're all looking for business as well and opportunities.
Well, yeah, and absolutely. My point is that, just like Joshua said, you'll end up reciprocating with the bankruptcy lawyer, the realtor, the mortgage originator, because the goal is to reciprocate. The goal is to build a bigger business for everybody. But my initial point here is that they've heard this so many times. Hey, let me work your leads. That if you walk into any potential referral source and tell them that, they're going to shut you down. They're not going to be interested. So, that's the point. And then, of course, you build the relationship. As my friend Greg Frost would say, you do business with your friends, and you make friends of the people that you do business with. So we've just had a comment here as someone that meets a lot of people at something called meetup.com in their area, and then there's BNI, there's all sorts of networking groups. But, again, go with the mentality that you're there to help them build their business. Always look for the way to build their business, and they will help you build their business, your business, because it's the law that it is without a doubt in every area of the country. If you help somebody else, they will help you. Well, Joshua, we've spent the hour. I think it's been a great call. Kelly, thank you for being on this call, and of course, what I'm going to do now is it's been so good, and we've got so much information left to give. I'll have to get you on the next call, maybe after Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be great.
Well, good deal. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us again today, and I wish you guys a great end of the week, a weekend, and certainly a tremendous time with your family next week for Thanksgiving. Joshua, it's always good to get together with folks and share good information and help them grow their business.
It's a great thing to have the privilege to talk to everyone out there continuously and share like this show. It's a beautiful thing to be able to help everybody's businesses grow as well as help us grow as well. It's just what we call the perfect win-win situation. Thank you all for being on the call today.
Yeah, and don't forget about the Identity IQ as a great credit monitoring program, and you access the $16.95 offer only through this website, myiqreport.com, and that's the only way to get the $16.95. And if you find that your customer has the $29 offer, what happened is that they went directly to the My Identity IQ versus using this link. So make sure they do that. If you are not familiar with the FDCPA department, go to our website and go to that section. It's called FDCPA, and learn about that, because it absolutely is a great way to build your business, help your customers. It costs your clients nothing. Your customer, your consumer cannot pay anything in order to take advantage of this service. And as this gentleman here said, goes as a testimonial, that he was able to get $500 from the collection agency, and it was removed from his credit report. So it's a perfect win-win situation for you and your client. So Joshua, another great call today, and thank everybody for joining us. And we will not be here next Thursday because it's Thanksgiving, but instead we'll be back on the 6th. So we look forward to that. So thank you again, Kelly, and thank you, Joshua, for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kelly.
Yep, thank you. We'll talk soon.